Hello, my name is Tapan Thaker. If you don't remember my name, you can call me TT. I have been programming in iOS world for I think 3.5 years from iOS 4 or onwards, from ARC and all the problems out there from that onwards. And I've enjoyed my journey up till now, I would say. And I am in a way an Android critic at several times because of some of the limitations out there with that platform. So I'm not a big fan of Android. I do know Android, but I'm not a big fan of Android. So that's me. And the topic that we're going to talk about is view debugging, or it's more like view debugging with different kinds of hacks that you can apply so that you can make your life comparatively easy, okay? And then there is some other magic, that other hackery stuff that you should always do in your debugging times. Let's not try to do it on release builds, okay? So that's the name of the topic. And before we start the core of the talk, let's first talk about my other favorite topic in iOS world, which is method swizzling. So this is my favorite talk out there, and it's actually a hack which I love the most. In fact, my colleagues criticize me for loving this particular part. So do you know what is method swizzling? Can raise of hands if you already are aware of what is method swizzling. Raise of hands. Anyone? One? Awesome. Yes. So method swizzling is like replacing an implementation of a function at runtime. That's important, runtime. So what you do is, say you don't like the viewDidLoad method, the famous viewDidLoad method, and you want to do something else then, right? So what you can do is at runtime, change the implementation of that method to do something else, okay? And generally speaking, we don't change the implementation of the method, we exchange the implementation, or we just add some new functions or new commands to the same function, okay? That's what we generally do. So an example out here is, and I've written it in pseudocode, I've not used Objective-C or I've not tried to use Swift, is this one. So let's say you have a class called as dog, and which has a function called as bark, which prints woof woof. A very simple class, right? And let's say you don't have the access to this class. It's present inside our famous UI kit, okay? And you, for some reason, UI kit has some bug, or you want this particular function to do more than what it's doing right now, okay? In such a case, what you can do is you can exchange the implementation. So what you can say is, I don't like the implementation of class dog's bark method. I want to change it with another method called a swizzled bark, which will actually do is print meow meow, right? You can see that. But at the same time, the interesting part over here is, what I have written is, I also call the method swizzled bark, okay? And a point to note here is that I have exchanged the implementation. So every time the bark method gets called, the actual method that's getting called is swizzled bark, and the other way around, which means that every time swizzled bark method gets called, the bark method is getting called internally. So because of that, the result is the output that you see here. So first it will print meow meow, and then it will print woof woof, okay? Which means that it's not going into a recursion. Okay, everyone understood this particular concept? So this is called as method swizzling. And the sad part is, even if we want, or if we don't want this particular implementation, like this kind of hackery inside our apps, it's always present. If we use any third-party library, like any hackery kind of doing third-party library, an example would be Crashlytics, right? So if you use Crashlytics, or if you use, say, Reveal app, or Reveal app, have you heard of Reveal app? Anyone? Okay, so even if you use the view debugger, which is present in Xcode 7.0 and other places, you'll find that it is actually going to use some kind of hackery around this. Even tracking mechanisms out there Google Analytics, for example. And Google Analytics also somewhere internally is going to use some kind of method swizzling. Okay, and this is something that we generally try to avoid. We don't want our functions to be replaced with some another function at runtime. We can't even it's very difficult to even debug such an issue. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I am an evil programmer, right? And I decide that I want to check in a class called as a very safe looking class. Say, let me say black view controller or something like that, which it's like a plain view controller, something like that. And inside that, if I change the implementation of view.did_load, okay, it will mean that view.did_load's implementation throughout the app, every place the view.did method gets called by the OS will be changed, which means your app will stop working altogether. So if I really want to become an evil programmer out there, I can really push in a change like that. I'm not asking you to do it. Huh? Don't do it in your code base. But if I want to do it, and if I do it, we'll be in a very bad state. Okay, so we really try to avoid such kind of hackeries out there. But the thing is that these kind of hackeries provide us a lot of benefits. And when I want to say that iOS is a very powerful platform, one of the reasons that it is really powerful is this, method swizzling, the runtime, the Objective-C runtime, which is slowly going away, as Apple says, but I would say that it's going to stay for at least 5 more years. Because it's very difficult for them to transform all of their Objective-C code to Swift. Okay, so it's going to stay there. And while it is here, let's try to use it for debugging purposes. Okay, so method swizzling is this. And because method swizzling is such a beautiful concept or evil concept, we can use it for our own benefits. An example would be if a particular view is not appearing on the screen. Say you have 10 different views and a label is not appearing or is not getting seen on the screen. You want to figure out what's the reason, what's happening behind the scenes. You can use method swizzling for that. I'll give you a simple example. So what I have is a very small implementation called as Debug View. Okay, and Debug View, the implementation does this, that every time the view.did_load method gets called, add subview method gets called. Okay, every time the add subview method gets called, it adds borders around the view. Okay, so if it's a label, you can add borders around that view. Or it's a button, every button out there on the whole app, it will add borders around that. Okay, a very simple implementation of method swizzling. Add subview ko replace karo, and what you do is add subview, instead of just doing what it's doing, add 2 lines saying layer dot boundaries is equal to something, something like that, right? And because of that, you can get some wonderful results. So right now, our weather app looks like this. Okay, this is a very simple implementation of Yahoo APIs, so basically you query the city name based on the city and you get the weather. So today it seems like it's going to rain, or there's going to be thunderstorms for sure. Okay, awesome. So this is what my weather report looks like. Now the thing is that my QA, right? My QA is very strict. See, even if one single font out there in the app, right, is not of the correct type, she is going to scold me. Okay, so that's a big problem for me, and it's very difficult. I don't understand the difference between M and Y, or I don't understand the difference between Helvetica or Robolytic. I really don't understand what's the difference between Y being that curved or it's not, right? It's a problem that I think all of us face, right? And it's very difficult for us to figure out just looking at the app. But what we can do is, we can use method swizzling. And once we use method swizzling, we can print each and every font that each and every label is having at that particular moment. And just based on that, we can get to know which particular label has problems and fix that. Cool? So what we have is the code base for the weather report. Okay? The debug view that I talked about is added as a pod. Okay, I'm using Cocoa Pods for this. And the debug view has a very simple thing called as debug is equal to debugging is equal to no, right? If I just change the variable to yes, it's going to swizzle a few methods here and there, right? And in the end, after swizzling, it's going to show you a debug kind of result. So I'm going to stop this app and rerun it. And you see, every single label out there, or every single view out there, in fact, the carrier and then the Wi-Fi icon out there, even the date icon out there, you'll understand that it's a view, right? It's really helpful. It's a very simple thing, but it's really helpful how things are working behind the scenes, right? I'll give you another example. See, if I click here, right, and you see this particular, there is a very small cursor blinking, right? I'll just add some spaces here. You see there is a small cursor blinking, and the truth is that that cursor blinking itself is also a small view. I never knew this, that UIKit also is using UI views for very, very small things like this, right? And the keyboard that you see, right? The keyboard now also has different rectangles out there, which means this caps and the backspace, both of these are different small views. But everything else, like the QWERTY keyboard and everything else, is just a single view. So Apple also internally, at some places where it needs very high performance, is using a single view for that. If I was a developer, and I'm not a very good developer, I would have created small views for each and every key out there. Okay, but Apple probably experimented and somewhere found that it's not very performance intensive, it's not giving good results, it's not giving good animations. So they implemented a custom view, right, with all the keys in a single go. Cool. So let me enter Pune, right, and I'll just press today. Now the people who are at the back, I'm pretty sure you can't see this, but I have the implementation here which actually prints the font. Okay, I'll try to zoom in. This is the maximum I can zoom. And then I can use Control A. Right? So these are the fonts, the font names of each and everything. And it's printing SF font, UI display font, right? This is the name of the font name. Okay? And then so this is the font that we are getting displayed. So it's very easy for me to figure out if a particular label doesn't have the font it should be assigned, right? We'll easily get to understand the problem, and then we can easily fix it. A very simple thing. Now this right now is being done for just the font. You can use it for anything, say color, say frame, say auto layout constraints, which we all hate, right? And so all the things out there, you can easily use, you can just tweak something here and there, and we can use it to debug things easily. Okay, any questions? You were going to say something? No, I just said San Francisco font. Yeah, San Francisco font, yeah? Cool, awesome. So this is how Debug View works. You see, even this small navigation bar also has rectangles inside, right? So this is a very small, very big button which has a UI label inside it, and then another probably a UI image view or something, or your UI button inside that, right? So it's very easy for us to figure out how things work. And now that I have Debug View enabled, I can see that something is hiding, some label is hiding behind my thunderstorm icon, right? Just another observation. Cool. So this is how the Debug View works. Now, looking at the power of Debug View, I thought, why are we just using it inside our app? What if I could figure out what an app store is using for their implementation? Because I love the implementation of App Store. You can easily scroll through the different apps. Or you can say the implementation of dialer, the call dialer, right? It's so interesting to see even that. So I thought if we could use it for some purpose like that, right? The problem is that simulators don't have phone dialer or even App Store, right? So on further investigation, what we found is if we illegally or legally, it's a debatable thing, jailbreak our device, right? and inject this particular code inside the App Store or inside the phone dialer app, because it's also a small app. If we can do that, we can debug and see what these guys are implementing, right? We can even understand if they're using Swift for their phone dialer app, or if they're using Objective-C for that, or it's a mess. We can even understand if there are some public APIs or private APIs that we might be able to exploit if we want to, and do some stuff around that, right? So the problem is I was trying it out today, and iOS 9.3 doesn't have jailbreak out there yet. But I had done this before once. So I'll just quickly show you that image that I got. So this is a working dialer app. And the concept that we call over here is code injection. So what we do is, there is this app called as, I don't know, phone.app, and we can inject code inside that. So what we do is we create static libraries, and how the way Cydia or the jailbreak community works is, there are some hooks here and there. There are some C small APIs out there, using which you can inject code into each and any app that you want. Okay? And once you inject that, you can see the result. So a simple example would be this. So in this case also, if you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of these are different views, that's for sure. But JKL, or the small text that you see down there, is not a different view. They have created custom views for an implementation of this as well, right? It's very interesting to see such things and understand what's going behind the scenes, right? Another example is the charging icon, this, right? It's also very small view which shows the charging. So they're hiding and unhiding it, nothing else. So it's also, see, Apple developers out there, the developers present inside Apple, I would say, are also just like us and are also messing up the code everywhere, right? We can say that. Cool. So this is Debug View. And I talked about code injection, right? Luckily, while experimenting things today, I found an iOS 8 device which I could jailbreak. And because I could jailbreak, there is another hack out there, which is by the person called as Shaurik. Shaurik, if you guys know, is the father of iOS jailbreak. Okay, he was the first one to introduce jailbreak in iOS, and then after that, he is somehow, in a way, managing the whole community, bringing in libraries which we use to exploit things inside the iOS app. So he has created a very interesting app called as C-script. Okay, C-script. And C-script is a very intuitive and interesting thing, which allows us to debug running applications and debug not just in Objective-C commands, but also using JavaScript or even Objective-C++ or things like that. So he has merged all the languages out there, probably all the languages that he loved, and he has created this scripting tool. And using that, we can obviously debug our apps on simulators, which is something we can surely do. But why do we want to debug our apps? Now that we have this power, let's use it for debugging Springboard. You know what Springboard? Anyone? What's Springboard? Yes. So Springboard is the home screen of apps, using which you can click on a particular app and you can install it. Obviously, when that's an app, it's just an app. It's probably a collection view or something which has paging enabled, and you can just click on a particular app and you can launch that app. That's how Springboard works, right? So our idea is to inspect Springboard and try to manipulate things inside Springboard, and then see what we can do with that. So for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this jailbroken device so that you can, I'm going to project it on the simulator so that you guys can see, and then we'll try to do something using C-script. I'm always confused, movie recording or screen recording. Right? Is everyone, is it visible to in the back? Yes? Okay, cool. So this is Springboard, this app, right? Oh, I have to interact from here. So this app out here is Springboard. And as you can see, this is Cydia. This is the famous or infamous jailbreak marketplace from which you can install jailbroken apps or apps using which you can exploit other things. Okay? And using the Cydia, I have actually installed the C script thing. Now, because it's a jailbreaked iPhone, it's almost equivalent to a Mac. If we try to do things, we can browse through the root folders. We can see what each and every application is storing. It's not encrypted anymore, and we can obviously code inject into different apps. So now that it's a jailbroken device, I can actually SSH into the device. Okay, so I will remotely connect from my machine onto the device. For that, I just need to know the IP. So the IP is 10.12.21.75. And now I'm inside the phone. Okay, I'm actually, even if I do ls, I can see what the phone has installed, or /dev, all the devices, just like a Linux system. I can see what's inside that. But let's try to do something more interesting. So let's try to use ps, the process command, to query the Springboard. So there is an app called a Springboard, as I told you, and I want to inject code into it and then try to debug it. So C script will be doing everything behind the scenes for me. So what I do is C script the process number, which is this one, 544, right? Minus P, and I'm inside the app. So to prove I'm inside the app, I'll try to do something. UI view, UI app. Oh, sorry. UI app dot Windows. And yeah, I have all the windows out there, one of which is SB secure window, which is probably the lock screen over there. Okay. So the interesting thing is there are times when our app becomes huge, right? And when our app is really huge, it becomes very difficult to, and boring, in fact, to build and compile every damn time. I know my app takes like 5 minutes and 7 minutes to compile on a Mac Pro i7. So it's really slow. And you want to just change things here and there and try to see if it's working, right? Manipulate a few values. You want to see if I change the label's text to a very long text, would it wrap? Things like that. Very small things. Or if I hide a particular view, would it still look good? Or if I want to move that particular view's frame from A to B, from the right top to left top. For that, if I want to really compile the app, it would be a huge pain for me, right? So instead of that, if I could just use this particular tool and try to manipulate the properties of the view, it will be great. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to manipulate some views out there. So from the experience, I know that the window 1 is the main window, which you can see on the, which you can see here, right? I should somehow split the screen so that okay, I'll try to type very small commands. I cannot guarantee that. Okay, I'll keep it this way. Even the first half of the screen is fine for now. I wish it was Windows, right? Okay, so UI app dot Windows 1 will print me the window dot subviews, and I'm going to just continue to play around with subviews. So it's printing me a subview. So I'll say subviews 1, and notice I'm writing a JavaScripty syntax, right? So in fact, I can take the value of this particular subview inside a where. So where view is equal to this particular thing. Okay, and I can type view, and I can get the reference of the same thing, right? And I can continue doing things with that. Subviews. Zero, and it's a SB icon view. I'll try to hide it maybe. Okay, this doesn't have. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Okay, so I'm able to do things right. So if I just take this whole view and say hidden is equal to true, let's see what happens. Nothing. Okay, cool. This actually worked when I tried it out in the morning. Okay, let's try it once again from UI app dot window. This is my window, so I'm going to say 1 dot subviews, which is going to say a view, and then there is a UI SB recycled view controller, right? So I'll try to see what's inside recycled view container. Okay, it's again this. So subviews, also this. So 0, 7, 60, 74. It seems like 0, 7. Okay, I don't think so. This is the one. 0, 7 would be somewhere up, right? And okay, this is already hidden, so I'm at the wrong place. I think so. Okay. Zero dot subviews. Zero dot subviews. 0, just bear with me, dot subviews. Now this is a scroll view, and now this seems like a scroll view, right? So this is a scroll view, right? So let's continue. So this is a scroll view. I'm again going to say 0 dot subviews. This is a search scroll view. So this seems like, the search scroll view seems like this one. Oh, this one, right? This is a search scroll view. I forgot I was in iOS 6 world right now. Then we have root icon list view, which is 1, and which is of the same size as that of this dot subviews. And it prints me all the icons, I think, right? 16, 5, 60, 74. I'm still not sure if this is the one that I'm looking for, but it's not telling me if it's hidden, right? So hidden no, is equal to true. It's not working, sorry. So basically, you can try and manipulate views over here, and actually tried this with Springboard, and for some reason it's not working right now with the Springboard. What we'll do is we'll try it with the app that I'm familiar with. I'm right now in the hacking pod, right? So there's another app called as TW Away, okay? And this is the app that we use to to showcase. And so Away is a Thoughtworks event in which people from all over the place come to a single location, and we just party basically. There's a conference and everything, we just party, okay? So, so this is the Away app, right? And right now I'm inside the Springboard app. So I'm going to exit from there, which doesn't work, and now it worked. And I'm going to say ps-el grep away, which tells me that this is the away day app and whose process ID is 611. Now I can do is C script -p 611. Now again the same thing, Windows 0, Windows 0, and now because I just want to do it, right? So it works. Okay, cool. So this is the whole thing. Now I can actually do magic here, right? Again, I wanted to just do that. So now I can get, say, an instance of the tab bar controller, or say a particular list or a particular icon, and then manipulate the properties of that particular thing, right? So an example would be choose. There is a choose function which actually lets you find objects based on a particular query. So the query would be your UI tab bar controller, the famous, right? So I have a tab bar controller inside that. So I can take the instance inside where tab bar controller is equal to this, right? And let's try this, and for that I need it in the foreground. Tab bar controller dot selected index is equal to 0, 1, 2. Right, it works. So you are able to manipulate things, and this is how you would probably be able to debug small things out there inside your app, instead of recompiling it, or maybe it's a production defect and then it's really difficult now to debug, and you need some mechanism to do it. So these kind of hackeries are not expected for you to do in your release builds, but I would really like you to do it in while debugging things and making your life simpler, basically. Okay, and you can also help the QAs out there with things, simplifying things for them. For example, the font thing, or say one of my QA really wants the accessibility identifier so that she can write a very good automation suite against it, and for things like that. So you can really simplify their job and make their life really simple. That's it.